We'll now talk about the budget session, on what is the expectation coming in from that, and of course warehousing. That's another important subject that the commodity markets are watching out. Mr. Sancheti, what's your sense on the taxes that India has? Very high and ununiform when it comes to state-on-state basis. How does that impact a company like you?
GST is supposed to lead to winding down of all these tax structures, be it octroi or entry tax or any other state level or district level levies. And all this has to be rolled up into the GST. So that leads to one uniform, ideally tax structure across the country, which removes a lot of ambiguities, a lot of differential rates of taxation which exist across states, and hence inhibit free movement and distribution of goods across the length and breadth of the country. So I think that is a one-stop panacea for all these problems which we are facing.
Madan, we have spoken about the futures market. Let's talk about the spot markets now, because that is where the underlying market is. And the kind of taxes there are, the kind of non-uniform state taxes also that are levied into the space. Do you think there could be any emphasis, any clarity coming onto that from this budget?
No, I doubt if there will be any focus on this particular segment. I think we're already talking of things like GST, DTC, all of them being deferred. So I don't think they're going to have much attention going to be paid on the spot markets or bringing about any kind of reforms. It's not going to be within the purview of this budget.
Mr. Agrawal, coming to you then, and there is this expectation, or rather the finance minister himself said that this budget is expected to be a responsible budget, and every time there is an emphasis on agriculture. What space or how much of a money flow do you see coming into that space now?
I do believe that finance minister is very much aware of the fact that development of agriculture, because we have seen that in this current year it is estimated that there would be only 1.8% growth in agriculture as against almost 3.8% growth in last year. So there would be, I believe that there would be a lot of emphasis on agriculture and a lot of incentives, a lot of motivational things would be done to encourage agriculture, to encourage more warehousing, and to improve the logistics infrastructure for agriculture.
Madan, there's lots happening before the budget as well. If you look at the gold import duty hike that's happened before the budget, markets were expecting it in Feb end. Also the sugar decontrol. There's been a statement from Mr. Thomas saying that sugar decontrol also would happen before the budget as well. So the run-up to the budget itself looks quite populist. I mean, lots of things are already being done. What do you expect in these spaces, in these commodities in the budget now?
I don't think we can expect any kind of bold measures in this particular budget. I think we're going to look at something more conservative, where the government will not try and give much to anyone, and they will try and give in the expenditure wherever it's required. So anything that has any kind of an impact on the future elections will be on high priority. Otherwise, I don't expect any kind of reforms agenda. So the focus will be on trying to move towards the 4.8% fiscal deficit ratio mark. And we know very well that the economy is not growing. It's probably not going to grow at a very rapid rate in next year. So there are going to be constraints on the revenue side. So I don't think the finance minister will give away anything in terms of revenue. And in terms of expenditure, yes, there will be the normal things on agriculture, something on pulses, oil seeds. These are all piecemeal reforms which we have, something on warehousing, which I was talking of. But there's no sustained attention on these areas. I think that's where the major lacuna is. So this is an important year just before the budget. So we will see certain allocations out here to say that we are pro-farmers, pro-agriculture, but I think it will stop on that.
You mentioned about that point on warehousing. What are your expectations onto that one? Because the receipts, the expanding of it is something that has been going on again for more than 4 or 5 years now.
No, there can be the usual kind of incentives given in terms of creation of warehouses, maybe certain kind of flow of funds for warehousing. I think it already qualifies under priority sector. There's nothing much more you can do about it. But I think that's about it. So nothing really exciting I expect on this particular front.
Well, warehousing is a subject that is very close to the futures markets as well as. Mr. Vijay Kumar, what's your sense on what is the expectation on warehousing this time around from the budget?
As I said, I think if there are any specific incentives or additional incentives that are aimed at creating infrastructure, that'll certainly help. One is not sure as to whether this budget will be aimed more at growing revenues rather than focusing on investments. But I think it certainly should be an area, because as I said, it will improve productivity, it will cut losses and wastages from the economy, not only for the goods that move in the private sector, even the goods that are held by the government and FCI for as food security. Even that requires very good storage. So I think modernization there will certainly need a fillip.
Mr. Sancheti, what are your expectations on the warehousing front from this budget? Because for you it's a big business, all the trading, all the agri-commodities that come in have to be shifted into these warehouses. How do you look at the negotiating receipts and the industry going forward?
I think government has to look at two issues there. One is that how does it encourage more investment to come into warehousing? So that is either by way of some fiscal incentives, or the other way is for it to allow banks to buy and sell commodities, because while warehousing, there is a framework for warehousing receipts and for creating a charge on through the warehousing receipts, but unless and until the banks are allowed to buy and sell commodities, it becomes a little inflexible as far as they are concerned to enhance lending against commodities which are stored in the warehouse. So I think these are the two things which the government should look into.
Mr. Agarwal, coming to you on the same point really, warehousing has been a top priority subject for many years now. Also infrastructure, I mean that's just a part of it. Logistics is another important point that is added to this one. What's your reaction and what are your expectations from this budget on that?
Manisha, if you see that almost 10,000 crore of value of the grain is wasted every year because of non-availability or poor quality of warehousing facilities. I think this is a high priority area, and you know, of course there is a constraint for the Honorable Finance Minister to manage the fiscal deficit as well as to manage the the growth. So having said that, I do believe that there would be a lot of subsidy reforms. However, there would be more emphasis on creating infrastructure, there would be more money spent on infrastructure, and I think warehousing would be one area which would get priority in this budget by the Finance Minister. So I believe, I'm sure that there could be a number of incentives, it could be a tax holiday. I mean, there could be different measures that how the Honorable Finance Minister works out, but I believe that there should be good amount of focus in this budget on infrastructure and particularly on warehousing.
All right, expected to be a conservative budget, but some subsidy reforms could be coming in from this budget is what our experts are saying. And we have talked about all the things that the markets are expecting as a wish list from this budget. But what's that one thing that all the experts would be watching could come through? Let's go and ask them. Mr. Agarwal would want to point a finger at FCRA as well. While it's not a budget agenda really, but funny things or rather out-of-the-box things have happened in budget as we have seen in the previous years. What's your sense? How soon or how quick could that be coming in?
I believe that FCRA amendment bill would get passed in this budget session. And if this bill gets passed, I think there would be a sense of urgency from all the stakeholders to give more focus on agriculture, to give more focus on constructing of warehouses, and I think this would really lead to the second round of reforms.
Madan, coming to your point, when we started the discussion and you said 10 years, it's not a nascent stage anymore, we are doing good volumes. Do you think, if not budget session could actually see some movement on this aspect?
The FCRA, no, I seriously doubt it. We also saw in the last time when the discussion came up, we had the case of saying banks' participation in the commodity futures market and sort of acting as a base, as an aggregator and doing that kind of hedging. I think it was vehemently opposed by the political parties. So I think if that's not something which is acceptable, I really think giving freedom to FMC, which is a logical move, which is really required in this particular market, is not going to fructify very soon.
Ankumar, getting that question to you really, from an exchange, what's your perspective? I mean, you get to hear a lot of things. What's your sense coming in on FCRA now?
I think it will be good if the FCRA amendments are passed and the regulators are strengthened, these new instruments are kick in, and the wider usage is actually promoted. We want an environment where this economic function played by the exchanges is adopted quickly. Today in the oilseeds and oil sectors, it is fairly routine for all participants to utilize the exchange for hedging. But that's not true of many, many industries, and I think banks can certainly play an active role in ensuring that this happens.
Well, the point is well taken, Mr. Vijay Kumar. So final concluding remarks then, what's that one thing, Mr. Vijay Kumar, that you would be wanting from this budget?
No, I would say the IT changes that allow hedging gains or losses to be offset against business losses or gains, because that's the core purpose of an exchange. I would like to see that getting through in this budget.
Mr. Agarwal, similar question to you as well. What's that one thing that you think the commodity markets could really do with and could come across this budget?
Manisha, I would say two things. One, that this speculative profit being treated as business profit in case of commodities, and secondly, no CTT, because that would be suicidal, and it can be actually very detrimental to the economy and to the fate of the farmers, hedgers, everybody.
Madan, same question to you. What's your wish list?
The wish list actually is I just hope that the CTT doesn't come in. I mean, that will be good for the market. And second, if the government continues its expenditure on a sustained basis on the farm front, I think that will be beneficial for the farming sector as well as the commodity markets.
Mr. Sancheti, the same question to you as well. What tops your wish list this time around, that one thing that you would want from this budget?
One is from a competitiveness point of view, interest rates are on the higher side. So competitive interest rates for exporters. Probably extension of the interest rate subvention scheme beyond the food processing industry to even merchant exporters. Then GST is, I've already mentioned, because that's where a lot of money is stuck. In certain sectors where we are losing competitiveness, I think government will have to look at export incentives, because exports are clearly lagging the projections. We also need to see how we can systematically computerize the release of various export incentives which the government offers today, which today, due to bureaucracy and various other operational issues, are delayed to the extent of 6 to 9 months, and that affects the working capital requirements of exporters. So to make them competitive, I think there has to be a time-bound release of export incentive through appropriate computerization. So that's another thing which we are clearly looking at. And some initial steps have already been taken, but that needs to be expedited.
All right, gentlemen, with that we come to the end of this show. So that's the top wish list coming in from our experts. No CTT, lower taxes, more emphasis on agriculture and farm growth is what our experts are watching out for from this budget. With that, that's the end of the show. Thank you for watching.